the things that they lied to us about, right? The lies that we've been told. Okay, so yesterday I was on the um, mitochondrial DNA, of my mother, L1C1s, right, or L1s. Of course, it's kind of hard to see the screen here because it's all in gray. This is all in a gray type of area. It's hard to see, so they're showing this Africa right here. The L in the L1, right? So again, this is going to, when you get down into the scientific research, the real deep scientific research, this is going to be changed. It's going to be different because this is coming from what they call o the double OA, out of Africa theory, right? And they'll tell you that this out of Africa theory was comes from a bias from many people. So it says if every person living today could trace his or her maternal line back over thousands of generations, right? All of our lines would meet at a single woman who lived in Eastern Africa between 150,000 to 200,000 years ago. Though she was one of perhaps thousands of women alive at the time, only the diverse branches of her haplogroup have survived today. The story of our maternal line begins with her. All right. So, as you can see, 180,000 years is the L1. L1C, 70,000 years. Haplogroup L1C originated about 78,000 years ago, most likely in Western Central Africa. Today, it is particularly common among the Bantu-speaking populations of Central Africa and the the forest-dwelling pygmies, right? The ancestral population of these two groups probably derived about 60,000 to 70,000 years ago as the climate became drier and the African rainforest fragmented. When the forest fragmented, the population split, and each subsequently, and they split, and each subsequently developed unique branches of the L1C. Right? So I don't want to necessarily go so deep into all this stuff like that, but again, this is L1C or L1s through L6 is a non-African trait. Of course, they're telling you something different right here, right? Because this is coming from the out of Africa theory, which is which is the common westernized miseducation that they want you to have, right? So anytime you got a people trying to tell you who you are, you got to be careful about who they are, because they'll tell you anything, and they want to appear to be the authority on the research, right? So I'm going to get out of that now, right? Because this is who my ancestry is, right? L1C. Now I'm going to go to a different screen, right? And there's a particular page. This is page, and this is from the scientific dissenting opinion of a geneticist that I hired to go behind 23andMe and check what 23andMe was saying. So, it's not just the opinion of this individual. This is research from several different scholars, professors that did this research, not the opinion or the research of one man necessarily. But also, I want to show you this book right here, the Moors account, right, has traces of who we are in this book, right, written by this lovely lady here, right. Don't remember her name, and I'm not going to, find it out, but you can look at a Moore's account, right? So maybe someone said that this guy that I was doing the research with, or he gave me his research, they said that he was a pseudo teacher. So maybe she's a pseudo teacher also. This book here, Coco Pelli, also the same thing, telling us who we are over here, right? Written by this man here. He's also pseudo. I have this book here, right? That talks about who we are, here and there. But, he's a professor also, but maybe he's pseudo also. Okay. I have this book here, The Two Sultans, right, that talks about who we are on both sides, the East and the West, right? Here's the author down here, maybe he's pseudo also. I have this book here, Apache Chronicles, who talks about who we are here and how we have long been here. But maybe this person, here's the author down here, maybe this person is pseudo also. And I have this book here, right? The Historical Atlas of Native Americans. I want you to look at that picture down here. See that down there? I didn't write this, but maybe this person right here is pseudo also. Okay. So now that I have that out of the way, let's go back to this right here. So the distortions, or the manipulations and distortions, basically of the out of Africa concept, right? And we're considering of the out of Africa concept as not having enough proof. The following is stated. The out of Africa concept is based upon experimental data that has been interpreted by out of Africa concept proponents in a one-sided manner, which is to prove the out of Africa concept by way of confirmation bias, right? So the evolution of the Y chromosome tree produced at least 5 waves of migrants to Africa. Okay, don't know if you guys can see that very clearly. The evolution Y chromosome tree produced at least 5 waves of migrants to Africa, not out of Africa. And again, here the 4 non-African by origin haplogroups, right? Here is the AO-T, the A1, the A1B, and the BT. Okay, and right here again, similar pattern is observed with the mitochondrial DNA haplogroup tree, which shows a deep split. Exactly what they just said in the 23andMe. Okay, so the 23andMe is on point when it comes to that. They tell you that there was a split in the L's, right, between African LO and non-African by origin haplogroups L1 through L6, which is what I am. All right, so I'm going to skip to the next page. Go to the next page. Right, well, maybe let me read this right here. Biased interpretations have been employed to artificially prove the out of Africa concept. The same data can be interpreted as incompatible with the out of Africa concept and giving support for an into Africa concept. Okay, how do they know all this stuff? They know all this stuff because they trace your haplogroups. Your DNA is not going to lie. Men do lie. Trolls will get on and they will lie to spread confusion. But DNA doesn't lie. Science doesn't lie. Men lie. All right. So go to the next page. I think this is it right here, 15. Yes. Okay. So I won't be able to deal with all of this, but I'm going to start out, really this is not the important part. So all known oldest fossils such as the Homo cabeche 195 KYA Ethiopian fragments of skulls with the face very incomplete, right? So this is, and they're talking about the anatomical modern human, AMH. Yesterday I think I said AIM, which is not correct, but it's anatomical modern human, AMH. All right, so I'm trying to get to a little spot here. Okay, here it is. The making of African mitochondrial landscape. The following is stated. L1C1 is estimated at 60,000 years old. Haplogroups L1C is less star-like than L1A and L1B, with three major well-defined subclads and high internal diversity. The geographic distribution of L1C is especially interesting. More than 1/3 of L1C haplogroups in our database belong to African Americans, and few of them show matches with continental Africans. All right. So certain Aboriginal remains of the Alabama River, classics in Southeastern Archaeology, page 135, right? The following is stated. Crania were so badly decayed, crushed, or penetrated by roots that but two were preserved. These two, right, found near together, close to the bluff, belong to singularly well-preserved skeletons. One of a male, right, Collection Academy of Natural Science, number 2168, seems to partake strongly of the Negro type. Its companion, however, Collection Academy of Natural Science number 2169 shows marked artificial flattening, right? Adair tells us that the Choctaw, the Choctaw practiced flattening of the skull. All right. But they say that these people are Negro, they have Negro phenotype, right? So here's the next one I want you to see. An African American paternal lineage adds an extremely ancient root to the human Y chromosome, right? Polygenetic tree. I hope I'm not messing this up and getting it distorted because I'm not really looking. But here we go. We report the discovery of an African American Y chromosome that carries the ancestral state of all SNPs that define the basal portion of the Y chromosome, uh, uh, phylogenic, phylogenic, forgive my speech, tree. The AOO lineage was discovered in a large database of consumer samples of African Americans and has not been identified in traditional hunter-gatherer populations from sub-Saharan Africa. A median joining network shows that the African American AOO lineage is 11 mutational steps from the nearest MBO, and that the maximum difference between any pair of MBO is 9 steps, right? We also estimated the level of variations among 9 AOO lineages. An example, including one additional MBO individual by using a battery of 95Y STRs, for which all individuals had no missing data. A median joining network shows that the African American AOO lineage is 11 mutational steps from the nearest MBO, and that the maximum difference between any pair of MBO is 9 steps. Okay, so here's all this data right here. Right. This is scientific research. Right. All right. So I'm trying to go to the next page here because some of this, just like I said, I can't read. I can read, but this is, like I said, this is 52 pages, so I'm not going to read all of this stuff right here, right? I have to go to certain pages or certain territories. Okay, here we go. I do want to read some of this right here, though. Because yesterday I talked about the Y chromosome, right? Going back to 23andMe. I talked about the Y chromosome of the male, the man, right? To show the migrations of the people or even where they came from, right? Here's a more scientific research, Eurasian and African mitochondrial DNA influences in the Saudi Arabian population, and I mean, you can just go into all this research and find it. So this is um, other professors, right, who have been doing these genetic studies. As you can see, um, I'm going just clicking into those studies and looking at certain things. So I don't know. I don't know if this stuff is pseudo. You know what I'm saying? Um, because here's all the researchers, the people doing the researches and stuff like that, and which these people are professors, geneticists, scientists, uh, anthropologists, so on and so on. So maybe all these people are, pseudo. Okay, here's L1C again. Prehistoric of Central Africa. Right? So just had to show that. And now we want to go back to the geneticists, right? The scientific dissenting opinion. All right. The Y chromosome of this American, well, I really can't give you, I would be doing you a disfavor, because really the person that they're talking about is Albert Perry again, right? Albert Perry. So, but I will start from here. The Y chromosome of this American carries the ancestral state of all known Y chromosome SNPs, right? It didn't say the MBO's Y chromosome carries the ancestral state of all known Y chromosomes. It said the American individual carries the ancestral state of all known Y chromosome SNPs. This is evidence. Take that down, son. This is evidence of what was thought to be the oldest population in the world. The Khorasan and the Pygmies are in fact predated by Americans AOO. To reiterate, the unusual Y STR profile associated with this individual's Y chromosome allowed us to identify the same divergent lineage in a single ethnic group living in a small region of Western Cameroon. If AOO is MBO derived Y DNA lineage, it should be that the MBO's Y chromosome allowed them to identify the same divergent lineage in an American. The American AOO allowed them to identify similarities in small regions of Western Cameroon. This is representative of this being an American lineage. Okay, so when researchers found that Albert Perry's Y chromosome carries the ancestral state of all SNPs, that defined the basal portion of the Y chromosome phylogenetic tree, Mike Hammer of the University of Arizona was contacted. He subsequently contacted some colleagues in the UK who searched their huge database of African samples to see if any of them matched the American AOO sample. They found similarities, all from Cameroon. It's reported that allegedly the STR haplotype of AOO is extremely unusual. Extremely unusual. Therefore, very easy to see that the MBO samples were matched to the Perry sample. However, there were never matches, but similarities, evidenced by 11-step mutational difference in matches at 37 of 39 SNPs known to be derived on the AOO chromosome, right? Identifying chromosomes at 5 of the 6 Y chromosome STRs, particularly when 9 of the 11 chromosomes didn't match at LE, right? The DYS19 is not a match at all. Also, only 6 Y STRs is not a sufficient haplotype. 12 is better. 12 is a better number of short tandem repeats, right? For a more informational haplotype. They had samples from 174 embryo individuals, but were only able to identify similarities of 11 chromosomes. Okay? So moving on, going to page 22. All right, you see this right here? New evidence puts man in North America 50,000 years ago. Radiocarbon tests and carbonized plant remains were artifacts were unearthed last May along the Savannah River in Allendale County by University of South Carolina. Archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear indicate that the sediments, right, containing these artifacts are at least 50,000 years old, meaning that humans inhabited North America long before the last ice age. The Topper is the oldest radiocarbon dated site in North America. Goodyear says, however, other earlier sites in Brazil, Chile, as well as a site in Oklahoma, also suggests that humans were in the Western Hemisphere as early as 30,000 years ago to perhaps 60,000 years ago. You can almost bet it's much older than this right here. All right. 3 radiocarbon dates were obtained from deep in the terrace at Topper, with 2 dates of 50,300 to 51,700 on burnt plant remains. One modern date related to an intrusion, Stafford says. The 2 50,000 dates indicate that there are at least 50,300 years. The absolute age is unknown, just like what I said. Really not known. Okay. Let's see. Of course, here's probably a picture of Lucia, the African woman, right? And here, Professor Constantine Samuel Raffinick, the Primitive Black Nations of America. Now, this is a book, right? Written by Professor C.S. Raffinick, right? Atlantic Journal and Friend of Knowledge, 1833. Now, they're using the word Indians again, right? But I'm not going to argue about the word Indian because that's what people keep calling us. They, you called us that. We didn't call ourselves that, right? So, but the Society of Geography having offered a reward for the best memoir on the origin of the Asiatic Negroes. I sent them last year 2 memoirs, one of those Asiatic Negroes, wherein I demonstrated the affinities of their language with the African and Polynesian Negroes, as well as with the Hindus and Chinese, and renders it probable that all the Negroes originated, in the southern slopes of the Himalayan mountains, as they did once exist all over India, South China, Japan, Persia, and Arabia. Right? My second memoir was on the Negro or Black nations found in America before Columbus. We wasn't here. We was brought here. Lie. Wherein I proved their existence and connection by language with the Negro of Africa and Polynesia. These memoirs have been rewarded by the Learned Society of Geography with a gold medal of 100 francs, which was lately communicated to me by Messrs. Warden, right, our former consul in Paris, and Jomard, member of the Institute. This gratifying intelligence will be accepted to all my friends and furnish another proof of my ability to unravel at least the origins of all Americans, nations, and tribes in pursuing the path which I have opened by comparing all languages mathematically and numerically with each other. Now, to many, this fact of old black nations in America will be new, yet it is an important feature of the American history, as well as the existence of primitive white nations. There were still more numerous. To furnish a kind of insight into this subject, I will here merely enumerate the black tribes of which I have found evident tracing the remains in North and South America. The Native American Negroes or Black Indians have been seen in Brazil, Guyana, Caracas, Papaw, Choco, North California, and etc. Okay, so I'm going to go to a different page, right? Because this is coming from the other research, right? Here's what this guy is. America was a Negro continent, right? Carlos, I'm not going to even try to butcher the name. Carlos Curvo Marquez, right? And of course, it's Primitive Black Nations of America. Professor Constantine, right? Samuel Refinique, this one I was talking about earlier in the other research, but maybe that research is pseudo. I don't know. Okay, just maybe. All right. In none of these analyses, the first Americans show any resemblance to either Northeast Asians or modern Native Americans. Okay? Get that? All right. Let me kind of be jacked up here though, but I'm gonna blow it up so I can read it. Maybe you can see it. Right? Neves Lepa, I can't pronounce that name right there, but morphological affinities of the earliest known American pointed out that the Aboriginals found in North America resemble what currently could be described as African Americans. Okay? Hear that? Morphological affinities of the earliest known Americans. Right? Pointed out that the Aboriginals found in North America resemble what currently could be described as African Americans. An unresolved morphological position between the modern, or should I say, modern South Pacific and Europeans. Researchers from Spain, Mexico, Argentina wrote an article which also acknowledged that Paleo Americans do not look like modern American Indians. Modern American Indians, okay? We can no longer say that the first colonizers of the Americas came from the north of Asia, as previous models have proposed. So, Dr. Walter Neves, an anthropologist, I don't know, maybe this dude right here is a pseudo teacher, right? At the University of Sao Paulo, right, who made the initial discovery along with an Argentine colleague, Hector Pusarelli, or whatever his name is. This skeleton is nearly 2,000 years old, older than any skeleton ever found in the Americas. And it does not look like those of Amerindians or North Asians. He's talking about Mongoloids. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about the Mongoloid feature. Okay? The modern American Indians, or the Amerindians, or the Native American Indians who are claiming what they're claiming, a lot of those have Mongoloid features. And as you're seeing right here, they're saying that they don't have those features. They have this feature right here. Okay. Tom Dilhay from the University of Kentucky, Lexington, says in the article that the results obtained from Lucia, a member of the Olmec of ancient Americas, which I suppose is the oldest human skeleton found in the Americas, are very preliminary, and that the archaeological evidence associated with the African looking skull is no different from what you see at sites with non-anomalous skeletons. Leslie Freeman, right, from the University of Chicago, another pseudo teacher, states that all studies preceding and subsequent to the analysis of Lucia have generated the same result. The first Americans have a marked morphological affinity with present-day Africans and Australians, showing no resemblance to present Asian Mongoloids or American Indians. Okay? We do not have a Mongoloid phenotype. Africans don't have a Mongoloid phenotype, unless you're talking about the Khorasan. They have the Chinese features, which is where the Chinese actually got their features from. They got their features from the Khorasan, right? Who is still junior to Albert Perry. All right, here we go. See, there were two types of Indians when the Europeans landed here, right? This type right here came from basically the what was his name? Um, Genghis Khan, the Mongolian conquest coming to America. They came over here, they lost the war, right, and they got put on the plains, right? This is a Mongoloid phenotype, which is what they're talking about up here. This is the Negro phenotype, right, which they're calling Indian, which we're not Indian. Again, we're Moors, right? So this is what you see mostly today. On paper, genocide, they try to wipe this out. Not going to be able to do it. You have heard all your life about the Native Americans. So here I will provide you with the historical recording of the description of the first Americans, the Aboriginals. They were here long before the Native Ameri Indians. How did they get these black folks? Excuse me. How and excuse me, I'm reading something wrong. How and did these black folks get to America? They sailed, right? When did they get here? Thousands of years ago, some before the Ice Age. Okay, here we go with Albert Perry. Albert and Adam rewrite the story of human origins. They found this in July 22nd of 2013. So they have this information. They know all of the pseudo actors who are saying that they're the original. They know this. Okay. So here we have it. The DNA of Albert Perry may change the story of human origins. Perry was an African American born into slavery. Now this is an assumption, because they don't never talk about the Moorish Empire that was already here, the rulers of the land. They only want to talk to you from the 1800s and stuff like that. During the making, should I say, it was the making of slavery, right? The narratives that they want us to believe, the stuff that they keep writing and telling you about. So they say that he was a slave, but again, first of all, how do you know he was a slave? Okay, that's you just saying that, right? Albert Perry was an African American born into slavery in South Carolina. Albert Perry's descendants carry a secret in their DNA, a Y chromosome so distinctive that it reveals new information about the origins of our species. Our? Who is our? It shows that the last common male ancestor down the paternal line of our species, again, here they go, our species, is over twice as old as we thought. When Albert Perry was living in slavery in the mid-19th century, South Carolina, he could not have imagined just how ancient and significant his origins were. A sample of his Y chromosome DNA would have shown Albert Perry, or should I say Albert, and his owners that here enslaved an American was the direct descendant of a black man who could rightly be called the father of all mankind. Okay? Chuck that up. Okay? Here is the lineage of Adam. 200,000 years. See that? The former Adam. And the earliest known fossil of anatomical modern humans. Here is Albert Perry. Albert Perry is 340,000 years before Adam. Before Adam. In the Americas. Chuck that up. So wouldn't this be the old world rather than the new world? Think about that. To find where Albert Perry Y chromosome may have come from, samples from around Africa were tested. Several more from Perry's branch were found amongst the Mbio people of Cameroon. Okay, again, is what I was saying. The Moorish Empire was in parts of Western Africa, or what we call, well, it's really Akibalon, rather than Africa. Okay, ancient Akibalon. Below are descriptions of some of the inhabitants of the Americas. Now, this is the part that's very interesting. Below are descriptions of some of the inhabitants of the Americas from the book, right? The Primitive Black Nations of America by Professor Constantine Samuel Rifaniki, right? Printed in 1832. The Native American Negroes or Black Indians have been seen in Brazil, Guyana, Caucasus, right? Venezuela, Papua, Colombia, Choco, Panama, North California, etc. The Yamasee or the Yamasee were remarkably black people. Notice of what? Carolinas, right? Florida and Georgia, right? The Spaniards were met by the Black Indians of Louisiana in 1543. This book talks about that. Excuse me, got it upside down, y'all. Need to look at it. This book talks about that issue. Written by this lovely lady again, right? Laila Lamami or something like that, right? So, and the other books that I showed you guys talks about the same thing. They have the same accounts, written different ways. So you got to look out for the lies in there, because those, you'll catch them in doing some lying. If you do the research, you'll catch them lying about some things. They do tell the truth about some things, but they also lie. Okay. So, in 1543, there was a guy that was here in the Americas that spoke Swahili. His name was Estebanikio, or Esteban, the Moor. Right? He was a slave. He was enslaved first by the Portuguese, and then the Portuguese sold him to the Spaniards, and then they came over here on a expedition to the Americas, right? And so the book that I just showed you, the Moorish account, talks about this whole incident right there, right? So the Auroras, or the Caroras, right? Or the Cumana of Peru were black, but with fine features and long hair, like the Jolos of the Galas of Africa, right? So This is a lot to read. It's not that much to read, but it is a lot. I'm trying to keep it down, but so these are some important things here, right? They keep talking about New California, New Mexico territory at the time. The American Negro of the Quaranchica or the Choco, the greatest level plain, right? The great level plain of 900 miles long, 90 miles wide, separating the Andes of the South America from the mountains of Panama, were black and with woolly heads. In 1506, they are mentioned by Dangleria and all the early accurate writers. You hear that? The early accurate writers, right? Okay. Going through this. And I'm going to end it right here, pretty much. But I want to read to you about the Creek Indians. Given that name by the Europeans because they lived along the Olche Creek, today known as the Amulche River. The Amulche and the Lamar Mounds the mounds, as well as the mounds in Hawkinsville, were excavated in the 1930s. These sites have evidence of 17,000 years of continuous human habitation. All of these artifacts and evidence of who these people really were was shipped off to a basement. Where in Florida, right? Somewhere in Florida, excuse me. Gotta keep I don't have my glasses. I need to put my glasses on. So, they were shipped somewhere in Florida. There is a museum on the grounds of the Amulche Historical National Park. Why not house and display them there? What are they hiding about the true Georgian Indians? See, Georgia, which is the territory again where my people came out of. They came out of the Georgia territory and was removed and went into the Arkansas territories, right? The people that look like Elizabeth Warren lied, right? Whoever Elizabeth Warren is, the people that look like Elizabeth Warren lied. She, as well as many that look like her, have no Native American blood in their veins, just as many others whitewashed so-called Native Americans of today. Europeans did not come across the waters to slaughter people that look like them. Just know that only a few of our African ancestors came here on the bottom of ships. Many of them were already here and were made slaves. Okay, so the whole point of this here video, one, yesterday, to dispel the notion that all of us came from Africa, which that is not true. The second today is to dispel that blacks, and not the word black because black doesn't mean what we think that it means, black, but the Moors, the Muslims, the indigenes, the aboriginals, the original man and woman here in America, the Afro-Asiatic man and woman are the originals in the Americas. So today is to dispel the notion that we came here from somewhere else and that we are not native, that we are not original, that we are not the aborigines of the Americas, that the Mongoloid, is the original man. Right? This This right here. They don't even look like that for the most part. They're changing too. But this right here is the original. See? But all these scientific researchers, all these authors, all these biologists, all these, researchers may be pseudo. So the truth is, or the lie is, should I say, the lie is that we were not here, that we're stealing from this for this. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're the thief, not the original. But you was here, but you came here on a mongoloid conquest, got your tails handed to you, and you got put out on the plains and were forbidden to come into the cities for many years. So you were taught how to live on the land, right? That's the secret. So again, the Afro-Asiatic man and woman was already here. The lie is that we were not here, right? So I'm going to end this by letting you see the pictures below. I'll be silent for a while. See these pictures? These are Americans. More Americans. The Yuchi Indian by the German painter Philip George Frederick, right? Von Reck in 1730. The Georgia Indians above, see, the Georgia Indians above, 1736 painting of a war dance, right? Here is a map of the many tribes and the many nations that were here in the Americas. Right? There's a book, I believe it's called The American Nations, right? Don't remember who the author is, but there were so many nations of us here that it was almost impossible to find out, through the history how long we've been here. But all these are different nations. All these are different people, different tribes. From one end, north to south, east to west, or shall I say west to east, because if we flip the map upside down like it's supposed to be, the west coast is over here, the east coast is over there. You see, so this is another thing that they mess with our minds about, misdirecting us, right? Having us think the wrong way. This is upside down. This is not right. This should be flipped the other way, so that you get a better view of what's going on. All right. So right here, let's go back to, here are the pictures. Okay, viewers. And so y'all get the picture. It's just not just me. So anybody who wants to say that that this research and the people who have done the research is pseudo, by all means, go ahead. Doesn't mean that it's true. What's true is in your blood, and your blood don't lie. So y'all have a nice day.